So, as I said, yes, I've been doing this series all about addressing some of the top questions that people ask me when they find out that my work is really around helping people stay consistent with the healthy choices they want to make. If this is your first time catching one of my live broadcasts, my name is Sarah Best, and I am a nutritionist. But as you may have heard me say, people often joke that I am the nutritionist who never talks about food. And that might sound a little odd, but it's true, because while I started my career as a nutritionist, doing all the things that a typical nutritionist would do, right? Meal plans, recipes, all of those things. What I realized quickly was that just as I personally had struggled for years with emotional eating, nighttime binging, stress eating, overdoing it when I was out of my routine, out with friends, all of those situations, that's actually what brought me to the world of to decide to become a nutritionist. I started to see that all my clients were struggling with the same things, and that it really wasn't about the food. Right? The meal plans, the recipes I was giving them, they were maybe useful tools, but none of these things I was teaching them were revolutionary, were mind-blowing, right? They already knew a lot about what to eat and what not eat. And where they really struggled was on the doing it, and on the doing it consistently, right? Maybe they would do really well all day, but then totally sabotage themselves at night, a pattern that I had repeated for decades. And so I started to put those pieces together, and I realized there's a big missing piece of this puzzle that nobody is really talking about, which is the doing it, right? It's the doing it consistently. It's the what's going on up here, right? It's not about the food. And that's what I wanted to talk about in this video today, because I wanted to wrap up this series that's been dealing with a lot of the questions I get asked the most by talking about willpower, because that's one of the things people ask me about all the time. They say, they find out that my work is really around helping people stay on track consistently. And they say, well, Sarah, I just need more willpower. Can you help me get more willpower? What do I do to get more willpower? And that's what I want to talk about here, because what I really know after totally reprogramming my own relationship with food and now helping hundreds of other people do the same is that it's not about willpower, and it's really not about the food. And let me explain what I mean by that, because of course I'm passionate about healthy eating. Of course, what you eat matters, of course. And yet I don't think that our focus on sugar, carbs, fat, protein, all of these things, right? We spend so much time focusing on that, looking for the right recipes, looking for the right healthy meal ideas, looking for new quick and healthy snack options, figuring out, how many grams of carbs should I eat? How much protein should I be eating? What are high protein meals or low carb meals or whatever? All of this focus on the food, I think, is unhelpful, because for the most part, we already know a lot of those things, right? We already know that sugary treats are not serving us. We already know that overeating anything is not going to help us achieve our goals. We already know that mindlessly binging at night is not going to get us to where we need to go. We don't need any more information about any of that. What we need is a process, a plan, tools to help us actually do it, and do it consistently. And so I think that when we're coming at this, it's important to start to move our focus from the food, from the carbs, from the sugar, from the protein, from intermittent fasting, keto, paleo, all of the food things, all useful tools, nothing against any of them. But I think we need to shift our focus from that to really getting down to the root cause. What is actually driving the nighttime snacking, the mindless binging, the eating when we're stressed, sad, tired, the overdoing it when we're in social situations, the being unable to say no because people around us are eating something? That's where we need to move our focus, that root cause. And what is that root cause? It's the old, I call it your old operating system. It's what's going on up here. It's the old neural pathways, the old habits, the old patterns that have been deeply ingrained in your brain that you have been practicing since you were a kid, that now drive your not so healthy food choices and behaviors and patterns. And as long as we continue to focus on the food stuff and obsess about carbs and paleo and keto and intermittent fasting and fat and protein and all of this stuff and recipes, we're not addressing the root cause. And so it's like putting a Band-Aid on like a sliver, right? You're not addressing the sliver. So no Band-Aid is really going to be helpful. You need to address that root cause. And again, what I mean by that is you need to start to reprogram that old operating system, because no matter what diet, eating approach, philosophy, food philosophy you want to adopt, it's never going to work if you're running it on an old operating system. Okay. It's like trying to play, a DVD in an old VHS player. Like, there's nothing wrong with the DVD. Might be a great movie, might be a perfectly new DVD, no scratches or anything. But if you're trying to play it in an old VHS player, it's just never going to work. You have to upgrade that player. You have to reprogram that player, that hardware, before it's going to play the new DVD, the new movie, the new relationship with food that you want. Okay. So an analogy that I just love to use for this, and it might help you sort of understand what I'm talking about, is imagine you came into maybe you had house guests and they were at your home and maybe they were running a bath. You come home, there's water everywhere, right? There's water dripping through your ceiling. You run upstairs to the bathroom. Your guests are there and they're like on the floor trying to mop up all the water, right? And you look over and the bathtub is gushing out water, right? Tap is full on, water everywhere. It's like Niagara Falls. And they're there with all the towels. And you say, "What's going on? What's happening?" And they say, "Oh my gosh, like the bathtub's overflowing. We're trying to clean up the water. Do you have any more towels? Do you have bigger towels or more absorbent towels?" And then you're kind of confused and you say, "But why is the tap still running? Is it broken?" And they're kind of like, "Oh, we never thought to turn off the tap. We're too busy trying to clean up the water on the floor." And I use that little analogy, this bathtub analogy, because I think that this is what we're doing when we're always looking to find the right eating approach or new recipes or a new meal plan or a new bar or shake, or these can all be useful tools. Just like towels are going to be useful if your bathtub's overflowing, recipes and meal plans and food philosophies are all going to be useful tools potentially if you are trying to lose weight, improve your health, any of those things. But if you don't turn off the tap, right? If you don't first address the root cause of your unhealthy behaviors and patterns and relationship with food, no amount of towels or tools is going to help you, right? There's no amount of towels in the world that are going to help you if your bathtub is overflowing and you don't turn off that tap. And it's the same thing when it comes to our relationship with food. No amount of recipes or meal plans or, intermittent fasting knowledge or whatever is going to ultimately be successful if you don't first turn off that tap, if you don't first address that old operating system, if you don't first reprogram and rewire what's going on up here. Because ultimately, this is what's driving your food choices, and it will rise to the surface, right? It will, if you don't address it, it will overwhelm, it will overcome whatever changes you're trying to make, right? And we've all felt this. This is what happens when we do really well all day and then fall off the wagon at night, or when we do really well all week and then we go to a party on the weekend and eat all the things, right? That's what's happening. You're trying to sort of white knuckle through the day, through the week, using your meal plan, using your healthy snacks, using your bars and your shakes. But ultimately, the old programming rises to the surface and it always ends up sabotaging you. So this is why I'm so passionate about helping people focus on the root cause, about helping them reprogram that old operating system. Okay. And this is exactly what we do in my Change Your Brain, Change Your Body program, right? We focus not on the food. There's no meal plan. We don't really talk about food. If you talk to any of my members in that program, they will tell you that I don't really talk about food. Yes, I'm a nutritionist. Yes, I answer people's questions about food things if they have them. But what my students quickly learn is that they already know pretty much everything they need to know about what to eat and what not to eat, right? It's not really rocket science. I mean, again, of course, we can talk about keto and paleo and all those things, high carb, low carb, high fat, low fat, right? Vegan, intermittent fasting, all the things. Nothing against any of them, right? All interesting discussions. But I really believe that it's not about that. That's not where the answer lies, and that you already have a lot of that information. And that really any of those approaches will work. Any of those approaches that suits you and your lifestyle will work if you do it consistently. But in order to do that, you need to do this underlying work of reprogramming and rewiring this old operating system. You need to get to that root cause. Otherwise, again, it's always going to rise to the surface. It's always going to end up sabotaging you at the end of the day, because it's always going to be more powerful than your ability to sort of white knuckle it with some new diet or approach. And again, I know you've felt this a million times. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe you just didn't think about it in these terms. So that's why in the Change Your Brain, Change Your Body program, we talk about, I use a very specific, what I call my consistency formula, where we use tools like mindfulness, like meditation, like visualization, like habit mapping, like thought reprogramming, craving modification, right? A lot of different tools and techniques that I've developed over years of working with hundreds of students and changing my own relationship with food, which used to be a lot of emotional eating, a lot of nighttime binging until I was literally nauseous every night, a lot of feeling like I was powerless around certain foods, and just doing so much deep internal work, which took me years, but now I have distilled and learned from so many other practitioners and really created this consistency formula to help my students do this reprogramming and rewiring work at a deep level much more quickly. So I just want you to think about the fact that what I want to leave you with is this idea that I hope you will start to shift your focus from focusing so much on the food and thinking that you just need more willpower, that you just need to avoid carbs, you just need to get them all out of your house, you just need to, find the right diet or the right meal plan or the right, whatever you think will be your magic key. I want to encourage you to instead shift your focus to thinking more about that root cause, about what's really driving your old patterns and habits, about that old operating system, and to recognize that it's not about weakness on your part. This isn't about a lack of willpower, right? I've never met anybody who has more willpower than people who have spent decades dieting, right? There are a few people on the planet that have that much willpower. What the problem is that they end up being sabotaged again and again by that old underlying operating system. And so until you address that, until you do that work to reprogram and rewire that old operating system, you're going to continue to sabotage whatever eating approach or choices you want to make. So just think about that. Think about making that switch, and think about how you can start working to reprogram and rewire that old operating system. I would love to help you if you're interested. Again, we are going to open enrollment for the Change Your Brain, Change Your Body program in just a few weeks. So let me know, send me a message, comment below. I'm happy to send you a link. You can get on the wait list. But even if that's not of interest to you, just think about this switch from the food to the root cause, because I promise you that is the path to finding long-term consistent change that is actually sustainable and that will actually start to fuel and support whatever healthy choices you want to make, whatever that looks like for you and your lifestyle. Once you do that work to reprogram and rewire that underlying operating system, it is going to support and happily sustain whatever healthy choices you want to make, right? Because you will have done that. You will be running a DVD in a DVD player, and all will be copacetic. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Enjoy your fall. This will probably be the end of my series on the questions that I've been asked the most, but I will continue to be here every week to bring you other information, tips, tools that might be helpful in changing your relationship with food. All right, talk to you soon.